Hello everyone, welcome to another screencast, and for today we will be talking about the nucleic acids. For the learning outcomes, we will be defining the nucleic acids, identify the chemical composition of a nucleotide, difference of the nucleoside and the nucleotide, the difference of the DNA and the RNA, and describe the structure of each and the different types of RNA. Also, we will be discussing the overview of biochemistry since this topic is under biochemistry. Okay, dito muna tayo sa overview. Okay, biochemistry. So, kapag sinabi nating biochemistry, from the word bio, which means life, and chemistry, which means interactions. Okay, interactions of elements, molecules that sustain our lives. So, ano yung mga topics under the biochemistry? So, more on the macromolecules. Okay? So, kung sa chemistry natin before, yung organic and inorganic, we talk about the different elements and molecules. Dito, macromolecules na, meaning madami. Okay? Large. So, ano-ano naman yung mga macromolecules that sustains our life? Okay? Number one, we have the carbohydrates. I know, alam nyo tong lahat. Carbohydrates. So, ito yung sugars. Okay? Carbohydrates. So, kapag sinabi natin carbohydrates, merong carbon, of course, kaya carbo, and merong hydrates or water. So, ganito yung basic formula for the carbohydrates. Okay? So, for example, si glucose. Okay? Si glucose ay carbohydrates. Okay? Meron siyang 6 carbon. Si glucose. Okay? So, ang kanyang formula will be 6 carbon and then how many hydrogen? So, 6 times 2, we have 12 and then oxygen, we have 6. So, ganyan yung formula for the glucose. So, dito sa carbohydrates, tatalakayin nyo din yung different kinds of carbohydrates. Since si carbohydrates ay polymer. Okay, meaning madami nga siya, macromolecules. Okay? So, meron tayong tinatawag na monosaccharides. Okay? Monosaccharides meaning one sugar. Okay? Ito yung pinaka-basic unit for carbohydrates or the monomers for the carbohydrates. Okay? So, under the monosaccharides, we have the glucose, the galactose, and the fructose. Okay? Next, we have disaccharides. Kapag sinabing di, meaning 2. So, dalawang sugar units. So, ano-ano yung mga disaccharides? We have maltose, which contains 2 glucose unit. Okay? We have the lactose, which contain 1 glucose and 1 galactose. Okay, galactose. And then we have sucrose, 1 glucose, and 1 fructose unit. And then we have the polysaccharides, which means madaming units. So, dito, under ng polysaccharides, we have the glycogen. Okay, it is the storage form of glucose. And then we have starch. Storage form ng glucose sa mga plant cells. And so on. And then next, macromolecules, meron tayong lipids. Okay? Sa lipids, dito yung mga fats, triglycerides, cholesterol, phospholipids. Yan. Next, we have the proteins. Okay? Si proteins ay polypeptide, meaning madami siya, at ang kanyang monomer is amino acid. Okay? Amino acid yung monomer unit or yung single unit ni proteins. Lastly, we have the nucleic acids. Okay? Si nucleic acid, again, siya ay polymer. Ano ang kanyang monomer unit? We call it nucleotide. Okay? Ito yung i-discuss natin later on. Nucleotide. At si nucleotide, meron yan different parts. Meron siyang tatlong parts. We have the sugar unit, meaning meron siyang carbohydrate unit. And then we have a nitrogenous base. Nitrogenous base. And then we have the phosphate group. So, ayan yung nucleotide. And then, for the so, under the proteins, matatakal nyo din dito yung mga enzymes. No? Kasi most of the enzymes are made of proteins. And also, i-discuss nyo din dito yung vitamins and minerals. Since essential din siya for life, right? So, ano yung difference ng vitamins sa minerals? Kapag vitamins, lagi niyong tatandaan, ito ay organic. Okay? Organic. Kapag minerals, ito ay inorganic. So, dito na yung mga sodium, potassium, chloride, that is minerals. So, ito, yung diniscuss natin, ito ay midterm nyo lang sa biochemistry. So, kapag finals na, doon na yung metabolism, yung mga overall chemical reactions na nangyayari sa loob ng body. Okay? So, matadiscuss nyo doon kung paano nabe-breakdown yung food na kinakain natin, paano nakakagawa ng energy, or paano nagwo-work ang ating body. Okay? Doon matatalakay yung different pathways, okay, inside our body to sustain life. So now, focus tayo ngayon sa nucleic acids. Okay? So meron tayong dalawang kinds ng nucleic acid, DNA and RNA. So history muna tayo sa nucleic acids. Okay? Si Friedrich Mistrer, he is a Swiss physiologist and he discovered the nucleic acid in 1869 while studying the nucleus of the white blood cells. Okay? So, he found out that the nucleus of the WBC is acidic. Okay? Doon sa loob ng nucleus, meron siyang nakita na molecules. Okay? It is acidic, kaya siya tinawag na nucleic acid. Okay? Kasi nga nasa loob ng nucleus, nucleic, and then it is acidic in pH. Kaya nucleic acid. Although, nucleic acids are found throughout the cell, not just in the nucleus. No? Kasi yung nakita niya is si DNA. Si DNA laging nasa nucleus lang. Si RNA, nasa labas ng nucleus. Okay? And RNA is also a nucleic acid. Again, what is nucleic acid? It is a polymer, okay, in which the monomer units are nucleotides, meaning it is polynucleotide. And it is made up of CHON-P. Okay? CHON-P. meaning carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphate. Okay? Kapag protein, chon lang. Kapag carbohydrates, ito lang. And lipid, CHO. Kapag nucleic acid, chon P. Merong phosphate and nitrogen. So let's go on to the monomer units of nucleic acid, which is the nucleotide. Okay, nucleotide is the building blocks of nucleic acid, and it is a 3 subunit molecule in which a pentose sugar, so we have again the sugar unit here, which is a pentose sugar, which means it has 5 carbons. Kapag sinabi nating pentose, meron siyang 5 carbons. Ito siya. Okay, yung sugar unit. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pentose sugar. And it is bonded to both phosphate group, so here is the phosphate group, and a nitrogen containing heterocyclic base. So ito yung base natin. So ayan yung single nucleotide. Okay, it composed of 3 subunit molecules. We have the sugar, the phosphate, and a nitrogenous base. So yung phosphate, siya yung responsible for the acidic pH of the nucleic acid. O, kasi phosphoric acid. So again, ito yung nucleotide. Okay? 3 subunits. Paano kapag sinabing nucleoside? Kapag S-side, 2 units lang siya. So, meron lang siyang base at meron lang siyang sugar, walang phosphate. Clear po ba? Kapag nucleoside, 2 subunits, base and sugar lang. Kapag nucleotide, base, sugar, and phosphate. 3 subunits. Okay, ayan siya. Nucleotide, this is the base, the pentose sugar, and the phosphate. Take note, ayan yung acidic. Okay? First, pentose sugar. So it is the sugar unit of a nucleotide is either the pentose ribose or the pentose 2-deoxyribose. So dito rin nagkakaiba yung DNA and RNA doon sa carbon 2 ng pentose sugar. As you can see here, the carbon 2. Ito yung carbon 2. So ano yung napansin nyo? In DNA, kaya siya dioxy. Diba? Deoxy. Meaning walang oxygen yung carbon 2 niya. Ayan. Hydrogen lang ang meron. While sa RNA, which is the ribose, merong oxygen yung carbon 2. Take note sa carbon 2, okay? Doon sila nagkaiba. Kapag deoxy, walang oxygen. Kapag ribose, merong oxygen. Next, the nitrogenous base or the nitrogen-containing heterocyclic bases. We have 5 bases here and we divided into 2. Okay? The pyrimidine, ito yung pyrimidine. It is a monocyclic, ayan, single lang siya na cyclic with 6-membered rings. While the purine, ito yung purine, bicyclic. Okay, dalawa. And then we have the 5 and 6-membered rings. So meron tayong dalawang purine at meron tayong tatlong pyrimidine. Kaya we have 5 bases. So for the pyrimidine, again, diba meron tayong tatlong pyrimidine. So palatandaan dito sa pyrimidine, we have COT. Okay? Cytosine, uracil for RNA, take note, RNA only. And then thymine, which is for DNA only. Makikita lang si uracil sa RNA, makikita lang si thymine sa DNA. But si tyrosine, both. Okay, makikita siya sa RNA and sa DNA. Again, pyrimidine. Okay, monocyclic, COT. cytosine, uracil, and thymine. For purine, we have two. Okay? Adenine and guanine. Okay? PAG. So we have adenine and guanine. And then last subunit, we have the phosphate. It is derived from phosphoric acid. Okay? So dito na-derive yung acidic pH of the nucleic acid. So ayan siya. Kumabit siya dito sa sugar. Okay? Doon sa 5 carbon. Sa 5th carbon ng sugar. So, nucleoside formation. Again, kapag sinabi nating nucleoside, dalawa lang, 'di ba? It composed of sugar and base. So, the rule here, base is attached to the carbon 1 of the sugar. So, laging naka-attach yung base sa carbon 1. Dito sila mag-a-attach sa carbon 1. Okay? Condensation reaction ang mangyayari. So, a molecule of water is formed as the two molecules bond together. So, mag-aalis yung OH from the sugar and hydrogen dito to form water, and then sila yung magbabond. Okay? So, meron ditong plus H2O. That is condensation reaction. So, nucleoside formation, so ang magiging pangalan niya na for the pyrimidine bases, the suffix will be idine. Okay? So, kapag cytosine, it will be cytidine. Kapag thymine, thymidine. Kapag uracil, uridine. Meaning, ito ay meron ng mga sugar unit. Okay? Kapag purine naman, we have adenosine and guanosine. So, dito, osine naman kapag purine. Meaning, meron na silang sugar unit. Okay? Kapag naman, deoxyribose, meaning walang oxygen, maglalagay ka ng deoxy sa unahan. Okay? Prefix, deoxy. Which indicates that the sugar unit is deoxyribose. Nucleotide formation. Okay, so since nakapag-form na tayo ng nucleoside, ito, yung part na to, maglalagay naman tayo ngayon ng phosphate. Saan natin ilalagay? Dito sa carbon 5. Okay, dito. Sa carbon 5. Again, condensation reaction. Magkakaroon ng water. And ito na yung nucleic acid. Okay? Madaming nucleotide. Yan. Chain ng nucleotide. Si nucleic acid. So, kita nyo ba? Ayan, ganyan siya. So, ito yung isang nucleotide, another nucleotide, another nucleotide, another nucleotide, at ito na yung nucleic acid. Okay? And we have two types of nucleic acids. Okay? Again, we have the RNA and the DNA. So, isahin natin sila. First, RNA. So, ribonucleic acid. Okay? The nucleotide polymer in which each of the monomers contains ribose, sugar. Meaning, merong oxygen. Okay? Yung kanyang carbon 2, OH ang nakalagay. So, a phosphate group and one of the heterocyclic bases. So, ano-ano yung mga pwedeng bases niya? We have adenine, cytosine, guanine, and uracil. Take note, si uracil for RNA only. Okay? And it occurs in all parts of the cell. Okay? And the primary function of the RNA is for the synthesis of proteins. Next, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, so ang kanyang sugar ay deoxyribose, meaning sa carbon 2, ang kanyang ang kanyang nakalagay is hydrogen only, walang oxygen. And ano yung mga possible bases for DNA? We have adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Okay, walang uracil, only thymine. And it is found inside the nucleus only. And the primary function is the storage and transfer of genetic information or material. And this information is used to control many functions of the living cell. Kaya nga, control center si nucleus kasi nandoon si DNA. And DNA is passed from existing cells to a new cells during cell division. Okay? So, nagre-replicate si DNA para sa cell division. So again, ito yung illustration before. So inside the cell, we have the nucleus, and inside the nucleus, andoon si chromosomes. And we all know that chromosome contains of DNA strands. Right? Ito yung DNA strands, which is the nucleic acid. And meron tayong tinatawag na segments doon sa DNA, and that is the genes. Primary structure of nucleic acid. So, may structure din si nucleic acid. First, we have different senses and directionality. Meron tayong tinatawag na 5' at 3'. Kapag 3', unreacted hydroxyl group. Kapag 5', phosphate group. Okay? And then, next, we have the individuality. Okay? Individuality, nucleotide base sequence, basis for the different amino acids. Nagko-code yan for specific amino acids, yung mga bases natin. Okay? Meron tayong tinatawag na codons. Since sila ay kailangan for protein synthesis, so kailangan amino acids ang gagawin natin. Since si amino acid ay ang monomer unit ng proteins. Next, we have the base pairing. Okay? The size of the interior of the DNA double helix. Since the DNA ay double-stranded, while si RNA ay single-stranded, so ang structure ni DNA ay double helix, meaning pag ganyan siya. Okay? Double helix. It limits the base pairs that can hydrogen bond to one another. So, ito yung rule sa base pairing. It should be 1 pyrimidine and 1 purine. Okay? So, yun lang yung dapat na magbabond. 1 pyrimidine at 1 purine. Sila lang yung nakatadhana sa isa't isa. Okay? So, ano yung mga pyrimidine for DNA? We have the cytosine and we have the thymine. Right? So, sa purine, as is, diba, we have adenine and the guanine. So, yan lang yung kailangan na magbabond. Okay? So, ito lang yung mga pwede. Ito lang yung usually. We have the AT and GC. Okay? Ito yung mga possible, pero ito yung gagamitin. Ito yung usually ginagamit. AT and GC. Okay? So, tatandaan nyo to. Apples in the tree, car in the garage. Okay? AT, GC. So, ayan siya. Ito yung base, right? Ito yung purine. Ito yung purine. And then, ito yung pyrimidine. AT, GC. For DNA. Kapag sa RNA naman, for sa RNA, so papalitan mo lang yung thymine. Magiging AU and then as is for GC. Next, Watson-Crick model. So, this is the combination of two single strand. No? Kasi nga si DNA ay double-stranded. So, double helix. So, ganyan siya yung forma niya. Ganyan siya. Okay, that is Watson-Crick model. So the sugar phosphate backbone is outside and the bases is nasa loob. Ayan siya, nasa loob. Siya yung magbabind sa loob, yung bases. So bases form specific base pairs held together by the hydrogen bonds. So hydrogen bonds yung nagbabind sa kanya, mga base pairs. Next, anti-parallel. Okay, nature of two polynucleotide chains in DNA double helix means that there is a 5' and a 3' end of both ends of the double helix. Okay, so for example, ito. So, kailangan magka-pair sila, anti-parallel. Okay, kung ito ay 5' and then ito yung isang strand ng DNA. Ito yung isang strand ng DNA. Ang kapares niya dapat ay 3' to 5'. That is anti-parallel. Okay? And then complementary bases, pairs of bases in a nucleic acid structure that can hydrogen bond to each other, again, AT and GC for DNA. Okay? As you can see here, GC, AT, AT, GC. Okay? So, ayan. Again, illustration. Okay? We have the anti-parallel, okay, 5', 3', and then 3' to 5'. And then your complementary bases, AT, GC, again GC. Okay? Nasa loob yung mga bases. And it is held by the hydrogen bonds. So, example, okay? Predict sequence based on the DNA strand complementary to the single DNA strand shown. So, kapag ganito, okay, lagi nyong tatandaan yung mga bases. Okay, yung complementary bases. Again, we have AT and GC. So, madali lang. For example, dito sa una. So, kapag 5', ano ang dapat niyang ka-complementary? We have 3', right? And then A, we have AT. So, T. And then another T. And then kapag T, magiging A ngayon. Kapag G, we have C. And then C for G, A, T, and G, C, G, and then A. And then we have the 5'. So, ganyan lang. Madali lang, right? Basta alam mo yung complementary bases. So, another dito. Okay, try nyo. Okay, mag-practice kayo. So, kapag 5', 3' dapat. Okay? And then G is for C, and then A for T, and then another T. T, and then G, A, G, C, and then T, and then 5'. Okay, correct ba? Okay, clear po ba tayo? Okay. Next, ribonucleic acid. Okay, RNA again. So, the sugar unit in the backbone, again, it is ribose. In RNA, uracil instead of thymine. Okay, pairs with the adenine. So, dito, instead of AT, magiging AU. Okay, for RNA. And it is single strand. Okay, so RNA molecules are smaller than the DNA molecules. So, we have different types of RNA molecules. So, we have 5 types of RNA molecules. We have hnRNA, or the heterogeneous nuclear RNA, mRNA, or the messenger RNA, snRNA, or the small nuclear RNA, rRNA, ribosomal RNA, and we have the tRNA, or the transfer RNA. So, meron tayong tatlong pinaka-common na RNA molecules here. Ito ay yung messenger RNA, mRNA, rRNA, and the tRNA. Ito yung wag na wag nyong kalilimutan na RNA molecules. mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. First, hnRNA or the heterogeneous nuclear RNA. So, RNA formed by DNA transcription. Okay. So, next topic natin will be the central dogma. Okay, kasama doon yung transcription and translation process. So, may encounter nyo ulit to yung different types of RNA. Okay? So, the post-transcription processing converts the hnRNA to mRNA. Okay? So, magiging hnRNA muna siya bago siya maging mRNA. So, don't worry kasi i-discuss naman natin ulit ito sa next topic, which is the central dogma. Okay? So, dinidefine lang muna natin yung H term. Next is the messenger RNA or the mRNA. This is a type of RNA that carries the instructions for protein synthesis. Ito yung pinaka-importante. mRNA. Okay? Kasi siya yung nagkikarry ng instruction for protein synthesis or the genetic information to the site of the protein synthesis. mRNA. So, ganito yung itsura niya. Okay? Again, single-stranded kasi RNA siya. Next, small nuclear RNA or snRNA, RNA that facilitates the conversion, okay, of hnRNA to mRNA. So, diba nga hnRNA magiging mRNA. So, para magawa ito, kailangan mo ng snRNA. So, i-discuss natin din next topic kung paano niya ginagawa yon yung process na yon. Next, rRNA or ribosomal RNA. So, this is the RNA that combines with specific proteins to form ribosomes. Okay? So, siya yung magiging ribosomes. The physical site for the protein synthesis. So, ayan yung magiging ribose, si rRNA. Again, meron tayong large subunit at meron tayong small subunits. Lastly, we have the tRNA or the transfer RNA. So, this is the RNA that transfer or delivers amino acids to the sites for protein synthesis. And it is the smallest RNA. So, si tRNA, meron siyang amino acid. Ito, nandito. May amino acid sequence siya. Meron siyang anticodon. Ito rin, anticodon. Okay? So, para mag-produce ng protein. Okay? Don't worry kasi next topic naman, iisa-isahin ulit natin itong mga different types of RNA. No? I know medyo naguguluhan pa kayo for now kasi may mga terms na talagang bago sa inyo since wala pa kayong biochem. So, ito, exercise for RNA strand naman. So, ano yung complementary base for RNA? So, we have A and then U for uracil. And then at is, we have CG. Okay? So, same lang din. Ito, first, try nyo ulit, exercise. So, pag 5', magiging 3'. Again, pag A, magiging U na. Okay? And then AU. Ito, paano kapag T? Okay? Paano kapag T? Since etong strand na to ay from DNA. No? Remember, RNA is single strand lang. Okay? So, kapag T, na-encounter nyo itong T, that will be A. Kasi AT pa din. Right? Yun na, kapag RNA. And then, we have C, and G, and then U, and then C, and then G, and then again for T is A, and then 5'. So, yun yung difference ng RNA sa DNA. Next, try nyo itong second. We have 3', and then G, we have C, and then T. We have A, and then U, U, and then for C is G, and then AT, and then C is for G, and C, and then U, and then 5 prime. Clear po ba? Okay. So that's all for now. Thank you very much.